Hey plant lover! Welcome back to Mind the Leaves. Today I'm going to be talking about my Thaumatophyllum again. I absolutely love this plant. This is not going to be specifically a full care video for Thaumatophyllums, although I do have that available, so check that out right here. This video is going to be a little different. I'm going to basically tell you the story of my Thaumatophyllum and how the story of its life is very evident through its leaves. This giant Thaumatophyllum started its life as a small little offshoot pup that I got from a very dear friend of mine, and since then it has grown pretty big. I probably got that about 2 years ago now, but I've made a lot of mistakes and you can still see them on the leaves. So what I kind of want to talk about also is how plants will talk to you. What's that, baby? They'll tell you when things are going wrong. In its very first growing season, I decided to put this plant outside on my front porch where I thought that it would just get some nice morning sun. It actually ended up getting quite a lot of sun into the noon hour, so it was getting some pretty hot, pretty harsh light. Now, during the growing season, it was still looking quite good, although the leaves weren't nearly as deep green as this. This is basically how they're supposed to look. They are supposed to look like a nice, deep, dark green. So in that first year, it pushed out about 4 of these lower leaves, and as you can see, they are much smaller than these big leaves. Thaumatophyllums honestly prefer just some bright indirect light rather than having a lot of harsh sun, which is definitely what I was giving it. And because of that, the leaves are much smaller because they don't need to get as big to capture all of that light. And the stems are also significantly smaller. You can just compare to something like this with these long reaching stems and this nice big umbrella-like leaf. Totally different, right? But that was fine. It had some beautiful, smaller, mid-tone green leaves. No real problem there, but then I made a really big mistake. At the end of the season, I definitely should have brought this guy in much sooner than it did. They really can't handle temperatures below 50, and I think I had him out at some fairly low temperatures, to be totally honest. So when I finally did bring him in, I noticed that he had taken on some brown marks. That's my fault, and that is definitely cold damage. I left him out too long. Now the brown marks don't keep growing over time, so they're just a little ugly bit that is perfectly fine, not detrimental to the plant. So already within that first year, this plant has communicated to me a lot. By pushing out the smaller leaves with smaller stems, it's telling me that it's getting way too much sun, and by showing me the brown marks, it's telling me, hey, you left me out in the cold way too long. Fantastic plant. When I brought it in from outside, it took a rest, and then it started to grow again. It grew this large leaf, but even within this new leaf that is much better, there is still a problem. I was still doing something wrong, and this plant was trying to tell me. If you can see just how curled these leaves are, this one's almost into a tube. It's curling itself up, and that's basically trying to hold on to some moisture. Curling can usually either mean 2 things. It either means that your plant is being underwatered and it's desperately trying to hold on to its moisture, or there's some sort of pest issue. So after I, pried them all open and looked through really thoroughly for pests and didn't see anything, I kind of got the impression that I needed to be watering this guy more, and that is exactly what I started doing. I water him as soon as the top layer of soil is dry, and then I give him a nice thorough soak, and he seems to love that. Thaumatophyllum, they're so cool. After all of that, we were able to get some really nice, big, totally flat, dark green, happy leaves. So I thought everything was going super great. This leaf started pushing and I was just over the moon with excitement with it. And then I noticed that it was a weird color. It was still green, but it was a much paler green. Now when the Thaumatophyllum leaves first come out, they come out as a really new, fresh sort of green, and then they darken up to this color here. I will say that it is recovering now, which I didn't really expect, but it very much so looked like it was having chlorosis, iron deficiency problem. I also have this other leaf from the same era. One is much smaller than the others, and what it felt like to me was that the plant was just petering out. It just lost its pep. So that told me I really need to fertilize this plant more, or at least I hoped that that was the problem, and it turned out that it was. So I started using the fish emulsion fertilizer on this guy. As soon as I did that, I started seeing some fantastic new growth. And the new leaf that is coming out is gorgeous. I'm so happy because after all of these mistakes and learning how to grow this plant, I really think that I've got it totally down now, and I'm going to be fertilizing him at least once a month. So this right here is the brand new leaf, and as you can see, it is a wonderful dark color, pretty much just as dark as this one now. It is so perfect, so beautiful, nice and flat, and this leaf is telling me that I am doing okay. So super happy about this leaf, but also really super excited for the new growth that I'm seeing down here. There is already another new leaf pushing. They grow so fast. Now, you might be looking at this plant and you might be thinking, Sam, there's a pretty ugly yellow leaf down at the bottom there. What is that leaf telling you? Well, to be honest, that's actually nothing that I did wrong, which is awesome. But this is just what Thaumatophyllums do. Thaumatophyllums over time will drop their lower leaves, they will turn yellow like this, and they will just fall off. Or if you want to, you can just, if you think it's ugly, you can just break it off and it's totally fine. And in fact, if you were to do that, you would expose the trunk. And when you pop off a leaf and expose the trunk, it has this really fantastic eye shape. So yeah, if this is too ugly for you, just feel free to pop these yellow leaves right off. I think I might actually do that with you right now. There we go, that's all you have to do. So if going through all of this has taught me anything, it's that Thaumatophyllums are awesome plants, and they will forgive you when you screw up, and they are also prolific growers. Fantastic houseplant if you've got some space. They do take up some space. But I highly recommend this plant, even for a beginner. Even if you mess it up, it'll talk to you, it'll let you know. Please tell me in the comments below how your leaves or plants talk to you. And please join me on Instagram, where I post lots of plant content. Thaumatophyllums rule. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and plant your finger on that like button, and go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell to see more videos like this one. My name is Sam, this is Mind the Leaves, and I hope you're taking care of your plants and yourself. Bipinnatifidum. Did I say that right? Bipinnatifidum. Pretty good, right?